Welcome, everyone, and thank you for joining us today on Level Up Law, where we here at South Carolina Legal Services are leveling up your legal knowledge on the different areas of law that we handle. I'm Susan Ingalls, Senior Staff Attorney with South Carolina Legal Services, and I'll be the moderator of the webinar today, along with producer Kenneth Elliott from our IT department here at Legal Services. We are joined today by Legal Services Attorney Cheryl Wright from our Charleston office. Cheryl will be sharing information on solar energy, especially solar panels, and a quick overview. So if you're wondering about whether to get them and what they're all about, today you can learn about how that industry works. And also, this is a two-part series. So Cheryl will be joining us again in February for part 2, in which she'll talk more about scams and fraud when it comes to buying, leasing, or installing solar panels. So stay tuned for some very helpful information about your rights. The webcast is being recorded. It'll be posted on our YouTube channel for South Carolina Legal Services later this week, along with the slides that Cheryl will be using today. Now, this is not legal advice, but just general information for the public. You should always consult with an attorney for any specific legal issues that you have. At the end of Cheryl's presentation, we will provide information for you about how to apply for free legal assistance here at South Carolina Legal Services, and also how to access our information and other resources that we have on different legal topics. During today's webcast, attendees will be in listen-only mode, but be sure to put any questions that you have for Cheryl in the question box. We'd love to answer those for you. And as time allows, Cheryl will provide some general information to hopefully answer those questions. Again, thanks so much for joining us. And Cheryl, let's get started.
Thank you, Susie. So today, as Susie mentioned, we'll be talking about solar panels. Today will be a quick guide to those solar panels and also giving you information on whether or not you should get solar panels, the pros and the cons, the different things you should look for in contracts. And we'll cover a wealth of information. If you have any questions, just ask and put it in the question box and we will get to your questions. Thank you for joining today. So up first, there are various types of solar panels. There are home solar panels and community solar panels. And I'll explain the difference between these two and the options that you have for these panels. But first, we'll look at the presentation outline. As I mentioned, we'll be talking about solar panels, community solar panels, the home solar panels. How much does a solar panel system cost? The process, the typical contracts, the solar panel contract examples. As I mentioned, we'll be talking about the pros, the cons, any reputable companies in South Carolina, questions you should ask, things you should know. Is a solar panel right for you? And then we'll have helpful websites at the end. So first, community solar panels. The community solar panels are solar panels that are in a bank or a central location. It allows the homeowners and the renters to buy a portion of a solar panel and without installing the solar panel on your home. So as you're driving around the community, you may have seen solar panels on people's roofs and different things attached to their home. However, with the community solar panels, these will be in a central location like a solar panel garden or a solar panel farm. And you can buy into this, and that will allow you to receive the credits on your electricity bill without having an attachment to your home. And how these work, there's locations for different locations for solar panels. For the maximum production, they need to be in sunny areas, because with solar panels, you have to realize that the weather does affect the solar panels, because in order for them to produce that energy, they have to be getting sun, a lot of sun, in order for that energy to be produced so that it'll be a benefit to you. Also, when you move, the good thing about these solar panels is that it's portable. So you can take your ownership with you if you move to a different location within your utility service area. You will continue to get those credits on your utility bills, and eventually they will reflect a lower price for your utilities. Also, the good thing about the community solar panels is that the maintenance costs are not afforded to you. So the maintenance and the property parts and replacement, that will be for the project developer or the administrator for that solar panel farm or that solar panel garden. And up next, we have purchasing solar panels. So how to purchase a solar panel. Purchasing a renewable energy system from an approved contractor or manufacturer means you're paying for it up front or you're financing your purchase through a bank loan. You own the entire solar energy system, which most manufacturers guarantee for up to 25 years. Potential benefits. They can lower monthly electricity bills. It's a greater return on your investment, increased home value, a minimum 10-year warranty, and possible federal and state tax incentives and other deductions. Solar leasing. Leasing allows you to rent this renewable energy system for a set period of time, similar to leasing a vehicle. Generally, you will pay a monthly rate that is fixed no matter how much energy the system produces each month. So you have to keep that in mind, that your monthly rate is not directly affected by how much energy you're deriving from the solar panel leasing. And that monthly rate may increase each year. The benefits for this is still that you may have lower monthly electricity bills. There's no large upfront financial investment. There's typically no cost for system operations, monitoring, and maintenance. Fixed monthly rates regardless of how much energy is produced, but that rate can escalate, so you have to keep that in mind as well. And generally, it provides performance guarantees, so that just gives you guarantees on how the solar system is going to perform in regards to the solar panels. So now, how much does a solar panel system cost? On average, installation and the system together can run between $15,000 and $25,000, and that information is from the Center for Sustainable Energy. But what you do need to know is how many solar panels will you need, and that varies upon the size of your home and how much energy that is needed to produce for your home to run. So let's look at 2019. The average cost of a residential solar panel was $299 per watt. So with an average solar panel system size of 5 kilowatts, you're looking at an average cost of $14,950 before any tax credits or any incentives. And also you have to incorporate the cost of your equipment. Your equipment makes up the majority of the cost for your solar panels. So the equipment is the items that are attached to your home that are garnering the solar energy for your home. And you also have to look at the permits and labor for solar installation. Those are also factored into the cost of your equipment. So let's talk about South Carolina specifically. Solar systems cost on average $3 to $5 per watt installed, but new technologies can bring that cost down each year. South Carolinians with sufficient tax liability can take advantage of the federal and state tax credits for the purchase and installation of your solar panels. So if you're looking for it for state or federal tax credits, you just want to make sure that you qualify for those credits before signing up for a solar panel system. After these tax credits are applied, the average 4 kilowatt system will cost an estimated $9,000. However, that usually goes down as the system size increases. Keep in mind that these costs vary by your installer and they're subject to change at any time. We have included a website that lists the costs and incentives, and that will reflect the changes that happen. As we mentioned, that it's variable to change anytime, so you want to keep that in mind. So now we're going to have some poll questions so we can get you guys involved. So Susie will start that poll for me.
Okay, the first poll question is, have you been contacted to purchase solar panels? So if members of our audience would just click yes or no. Okay, so 67% say yes, they have been contacted, and 33% say they have not been contacted to purchase solar panels. Well, you probably will be contacted soon enough if you haven't been.
We have our second poll question.
Okay, yeah, and the second poll question is, do you or someone you know have solar panels on your home? Yes or no? We invite the audience to answer that question. Okay. Then we have, also in that question, we have 67% say yes, they know someone. 33% do not know someone who has solar panels on their home. Okay. Did you want to
Thank you
go
for that, Susie.
you
can ask,
comes later? Is that right?
ma'am?
The next poll comes later, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you guys for answering those questions. As you can see, there are some people that have had experiences with people contacting them for solar panels, or they know someone that either owns or was contacted by a solar panel salesman. So now we're going to move forward, and let's talk about the process and the typical contracts that you have for solar panels. So first, the financing options. You're either going to outright purchase your solar panels, or you can do a home refinance for your solar panels. There are first mortgages available. Some banks will finance for less than a prime rate. There are construction loans. There are home equity loans. There are some solar vendors, and there's leasing, which we mentioned previously. These contracts usually last for 15 to 20 years. And at the end of the contract, the leasing can buy the panels outright, or you can have the panels removed. And we'll go into depth for some of these options just to make sure you're aware of the fees that are associated with removals for solar panels. So let's talk about the contracts. So when purchasing a solar panel or financing a solar panel, you will be signing a contract. Things you need to be mindful of is that a lot of times the solar panel vendors will come to you with an electronic contract, which is usually on an iPad or an electronic device. You want to be sure that you are aware of what you're signing, the cost for the item that you're signing for, the length of the term, and what your obligations are. So here we're looking at a contract that details your contract provisions, so you can make sure that you read each line. And then also here we're talking about the payment due dates. So some people have down payments, some people do not have down payments, depending upon how you financed or paid for your solar panels. Make sure that you realize that the total cost is what you need to pay attention to, and if there are any interest rates, depending upon how you financed it, keep that in mind as well, because that could increase your end cost. Here we're going to look at some different things you should be wary of when signing these contracts. We're going to pull out some parts of the contract for us to discuss. So here we're talking about the disclaimer and the exclusion. Be mindful when signing solar panel contracts, because some agencies that are not doing or scamming or not doing contracts properly, they will throw in some language that could get you in trouble later or absolve them of any liability for the contract. Because here we're talking about a solar panel company, Altaray Solar. They're discussing the fact that they are waiving, you're essentially signing a waiver that absolves them for any liability for any damages or anything that happens with your solar panel. So you need to be mindful of that, because if there's something that goes wrong with your panel or there's some litigation that you need to seek, you're essentially waiving this right to do so within your contract. So you should also be mindful that they've also included that they have not made any and will not be responsible for any warranties, whether verbal, in writing, or implied by action or example, unless the warranty is expressly set forth in this contract. So that means if your salesman has told you something, oh, we're going to warranty this or we're going to promise you this, if it's not within that contract, then they're not held liable for that promise. So you want to be mindful of the things that you think are going to be in your contract. You need to make sure they are there, because if there needs to be a litigation, you would have to show proof that that's what was agreed upon between you and the salesman. So you have to be mindful of that and make sure that you ask for a written copy of your contract, and make sure that the contract is the same contract that you signed with your salesperson. Also, when looking at contracts, there is a time frame for you to cancel. So for the sales contracts for the solar panels, this contract gives you a 3-day right of recession. And once those 3 days have passed, then you can no longer cancel your contract unless you show some fraud or illegality within that contract or how the contract was made. Be mindful here because this says that if you cancel your contract after that 3-day time period has passed, then you'll be charged an additional $500 that you'll be responsible for in addition to the cost of your solar panels. So be mindful when you are signing the solar panels, and also make sure you check on your cancellation date. Here we have a clause about default. So default essentially would be if you fail to make the required payments for your contract in regards to your solar panel financing, then you can be found in default. So that means you have not kept up with the payments that are required of you per the contract. What you need to be mindful of here is that either they're going to treat that contract as canceled, which they have listed out here, and then the amount that is owed with that $500 fee is due immediately. So that does not mean there are any payment plans. They expect their funds immediately. So you need to be mindful of signing contracts and agreeing to make these payments if you know that you may not be able to handle these payments later, because they could then assess you the entire cost of your solar panels. Also, they mentioned the interest. So they may also include your interest that you have accrued over the time of your loan. That could be included in the amount that you need to pay. So please just be mindful of any fees or costs, and then also keep in mind that they may, if they have to send you to a collections, they may also add those costs onto the amount that is owed. So some of these hidden fees can cause your contract to become excessive in regards to the amount that is owed. It may be different from what you signed for initially. And also, if there are any checks in here, they say that any bounced checks or checks that were not honored, you will then be assessed a $30 fee for each payment that did not go through. So that's similar to if you have insufficient funds in your bank and they charge you that $35. Within this contract, Altaray Solar Systems is essentially saying they're going to charge you $30 as well for them having checks or debit cards or credit card payments that did not go through. Now we look at the repossession and sale. So this is after your default point, if they decide to repossess your solar panels or if they decide to sell your solar panels. If you fail to pay all the amounts owed, they're essentially stating that they can accelerate your cost. So that accelerates your contract. That means that that amount that is owed will now be owed immediately. And then they can exercise all rights and remedies to recoup their funds in the amount that is owed to them. So that either is a sale or a repossession. If you do have a solar panel that is attached to your home, that means that they then will have the right to come remove that solar panel from your home, and you would be required to cooperate with the lender to remove that solar panel, and then you will also be assessed those costs. And you also just be mindful in here that you're also agreeing that they just have to give you a 10-day notice window in order for them to come repossess your solar panels and remove it from your home. So when signing up for your solar panels, you need to keep in mind that this can be a monumental thing in regards to if you cannot pay for your solar panels in the future, because then you will have someone that has to come remove property from your home, and those costs associated with it will be then given to you to have that burden to pay. So now we're going to discuss the pros and cons of solar panels for your home. So the pros of solar panels, because there are some, is they're a true renewable energy source. So essentially the solar panels are deriving their energy from the sun. So the sun never goes away except during the nighttime. So during the day, if you are in a sunny location, that energy is always renewing. And with that being said, this can also lead to it reducing your electricity bill in some situations. So you have to be mindful that that is a promise that the sellers of the solar panels do put out first, that it will reduce your electricity bill. But then you have to keep in mind, for some people, if they're not using that much electricity or depending upon the usage in your home, there may not be a significant change in your electricity bill. So you need to assess those things because it's unique for each family or for each home how much energy you use. So you just want to be mindful of signing up for it with the impression that you're going to get a drastic reduction in your electricity bill. That doesn't happen for everyone. There's low maintenance costs for your solar panels, so there isn't much maintenance that you have to do for your solar panels. As I mentioned previously in our former slides, that for the solar gardens or the solar farms, that maintenance cost is not for you to bear. That is for the developer of developer of that solar farm or that solar garden. So those costs will not be given to you. And also the financial incentives from the government. So that would be that state credit and that federal tax credit that you could qualify for. You just have to look at those requirements for that because that could give you the credits if you do buy into a solar panel system. They operate quietly, there are no moving parts, and there's no pollution. So that's for if you're trying to be eco-friendly. There's no pollution that is produced by your solar panels. There is no extra noise that will be affecting your home. So that is a pro for your solar panel system. They have a long service life and they're usually reliable in operation. So like we mentioned before, that 24-year period is what they're saying that is a good operation period. There isn't much maintenance that needs to be done during that time and they're pretty reliable. But now let's talk about the cons for the solar panels. There's an initial cost for your solar panels. So that's that $9,000 or that $14,650. Those costs are costs that would have to be paid up front depending upon how you finance your solar panels. But typically, once your installation price is off, those costs usually dwindle down. And as I mentioned before, the solar panels energy is coming from the sun. So it is very dependent upon the weather in your area. So if you have a home that does not get much sun, it's in a wooded area, the sun only comes to one part of your home and it's just for a short period of time, then solar panels may not be for you. If you have a home that is in an area that has a lot of sun, and usually the sun is facing your home for extended periods of time, then that means that your solar panels will be renewing that energy more frequently versus someone that lives in a wooded area where their home does not get much sun. So you need to keep that in mind prior to getting solar panels because they are weather dependent. So if you're in a city or a place that the weather is not sunny often, then it's likely that solar panels are not for you. Also, we have to look at the energy storage systems. So the energy storage systems for these solar panels, they can be expensive. So you have to take into consideration and make that balancing effect of whether or not the energy that you are needing or requiring will be energy that is produced by your solar panel systems, and will it then balance out the costs for those solar panels. Also, their lower electricity costs means lower savings. So if you don't use much electricity, then your savings won't balance out because then the amount that you're saving will be minimal because the amount you're using will be minimal. And lastly, we're going to look at the size of your roof. So we mentioned previously that depending upon the size of your home, that changes how much panels that you will need. But where the solar panels are going to go are your roof. So if you're getting solar panels that are attached to your home, you have to keep in mind the size of your home and the space on your roof for these solar panels to be attached. Because like I mentioned, those solar panels need to be in an area that gets a lot of sun. So if your roof cannot accommodate the solar panels required, then the solar panels may not be for you. Now we're talking about the reputable companies in South Carolina. So we have some resources that list out reputable companies in South Carolina because there are a lot of solar panel companies that are not reputable. There are a lot of solar panel salesmen that may be trying to scam you. And there are a lot of scams going around, especially in this new age of technology where you can get cell phone numbers, emails, and contact information for just about anyone. So you need to be mindful of the company that you're dealing with. Always do your research when signing up for something, when you're giving funds to someone, always do your research. So here we have the North American Board of Certified Energy Practitioners. They maintain a certified system of installers for your solar panels. So these will be people that are installing the solar panels because that's important because you don't want any damage to your home and you want them properly installed so that you will get those benefits that you signed up for with these solar panels. And also South Carolina Solar Council and the South Carolina Solar Business Alliance also maintains a list of installers. And dealing with reputable companies, you will have a history and research of the solar panels that they have installed, and you have more recourse because they're on a listed reputable company site. So you know that they have been vetted by the boards that monitor energy and solar panel systems. So please keep that in mind. Always beware, do your research. You don't have to jump right into signing contracts. You can think it over and make sure you ask around. So with that being said, questions you should ask your solar installer. So these are things that you should ask prior to getting your solar panels. So what payment options do you offer? So this will allow you to determine if you can afford these solar panels via these payment options. So there may be different payment options for different companies and different installers. So this initial cost that you have to pay up front, some companies may offer you a payment option. So make sure you talk about that payment option and make sure it's in writing prior to you signing your contracts. In addition, you should ask them, do they handle the paperwork for federal and state incentives? Because if you're signing up for your solar panel thinking that you will be getting incentives and no one has done your paperwork, or you're responsible for doing that paperwork, you want to be aware of what you need to do in order to get those credits or those incentives, and also the information that you need to have. So be sure that you have asked your installer, do they handle that paperwork, and could they provide that paperwork when it's completed? So you want to keep record of everything that you have dealing with your solar panels. Number 3, do you offer package systems or incentives to help lower the cost? So that may be different packages that they have that may allow you to bundle systems so that you will reduce the cost that you have to pay up front. So that would be a good way for you to make solar panels more affordable to you if you've done your research and see that solar panels will be beneficial for your home. And then you can ask them questions about their company. How long have they been in business? How long have they worked for the company? Just to get some inside information of, is this a company that has been here for a long period of time? Do they have a good working history? Has this person worked here long enough to gain the knowledge needed to provide you with the information that you need in order to make an informed decision? Then you can ask about the experience that they have in this area, because as I mentioned before, the area that you're in could affect your solar panel and their renewable energy, as you will need an area that has a lot of sun. You can ask if they've worked with others in the area so that you can see if there are others in your area that have received the benefits of solar panels and they have done well for them in their home. And that brings me to number 6. You can also ask about the installations that they've done in your community. A lot of people do live in subdivisions, and you ride around your subdivision and you may see someone that has solar panels. So you want to ask how many they've done in this community. You can also ask the energy and kilowatts that have been accumulated via their experience with working with the other consumers, because that will give you an idea of how it could benefit you and how much energy would be produced by your solar panels. And also, seeing as different people have different homes, as I mentioned previously, your solar panel installation is unique to your home, where they need to be placed and how much space you have will affect your solar panel system. So you do want to ask them, have they done any work or have they done any similar work that will give them an idea of how they should accomplish the installation on your home. So you just want to ask as many questions as you can to make sure that they are knowledgeable of the service that they are going to provide to you, because as I mentioned, if you're getting the solar panels attached to your home, that will be on your home and you don't want any damage done to your home. Then you discuss with them the products and the services that their company offers, because they may have different products and services that may apply to you or that you may be interested in. When looking at those products and services, make sure you balance out what your needs are and how those needs will be serviced by the products that they are offering, because they will try to upsell you. So you want to make sure that you aren't just buying things in the heat of the moment that you don't necessarily need. So make sure you do your research and come equipped with the information for your home, and look at your energy bills and see how much energy you are using to determine if the solar panels will be a good fit for you. And then you can ask them, why do they give recommendations, or with the recommendations that they give, why would that work for your installation, or why would that work for you? Because that will give you more information as to their knowledge of the solar panels and the products, and then you can also determine more if those needs or products are things that you need for your home. because just because they offer you something does not mean that you need to sign up for it. So just make sure you do your research and you have an assessment of the energy usage in your home to determine what products you need, and also just research their recommendations. You may want to check with other companies. You may want to go back to that website with the reputable installers and the reputable list just to make sure that this installer will work best for you. And then also you can ask them about any lawsuits or pending judgments. So that will give you an idea if there have been any litigation involving their company and what kind of litigation that is. So that will also give you a look into their history and their backgrounds in regards to solar panels, and also may make you more wary if you find out that there are a lot of lawsuits pending for this particular company. So just make sure you ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask those questions, because before you sign your contract, that's the best time that you should ask questions before entering into an agreement with the solar panel company. Now, some things you should know. The state will not pay you for installing solar panels on your home. They will not send you a monthly payment for your solar panels. So keep that in mind. Some people do have the impression that they will be getting some payment from the state or the utility company for these panels, and that's not the case. Also, you will most likely have a lien placed on your property for your solar panels. So liens are placed on properties when there's a creditor that is essentially stating that you've taken out a loan with them. There's a lien on your property, so that if something occurs with your property or something occurs with the solar panel, they will be in line to recoup from any sale or credit issues or any credit recovery. They will be in line to get those funding. So also you have to keep that in mind if you are in a home that you don't plan on staying in for a long period of time, because if you sell your home or you refinance your mortgage, you would then have to address that lien. And that also brings up a point. If you plan on selling your house, you may have to find a buyer that is willing to take over your solar panel loan and that is credit worthy to do so. That is an issue that a lot of people face when deciding to move or to sell their home. They have to find a buyer that is credit worthy to assume that loan, and a buyer that wants that solar panel loan or that solar panel responsibility on their home. So you just need to keep these things in mind when deciding if a solar panel is for you. If you only plan on being in your home for 5 years, a solar panel may not be for you. And then also, if you're looking for that tax break, you should not lease your solar panels. They will get a 30% tax deduction credit if the solar panel is leased. So you will not get that credit, the company will get that credit. So also keep that in mind if you're entering into these contracts for tax credit purposes. Finally, after you sign the dotted line, do not release the money to the installing company until your system is up and running. So what that means is if you're paying up front and they have not completed the service to make sure your solar panels are up and that they are running, you should not be releasing any funds to them. So please keep that in mind when making your payments after you sign for your contract. You should not be making any payments if your product is not up and running. So is the solar panel system right for me? So that depends. We're going to go back over some of the factors that I have mentioned, but the factors to consider are the size of your roof, what direction it faces, the age of your roof, and these things matter because what direction your roof faces is going to determine how much sun your solar panel is going to get. As I mentioned before, and I'm going to keep reiterating, the sun is very imperative to determining how much energy that you're going to be producing via these solar panels. So you have to have them in a place that is going to get a lot of sun. The age of your roof may matter because depending upon the age of your roof may not be able to handle an installation of solar panels. And if they're installed on there and your roof is not able to handle that weight, then you may incur more damages to your home because now you have a roof issue, and then now you have to deal with the roof issue and also your solar panels. As I mentioned also before, if you live in a wooded area or if you're in an area that is by high-rise buildings, you may want to determine if the sun is going to reach your solar panels so much so that you will be getting a high production of energy. So you have to keep these things in mind when deciding if you need a solar panel. If you're in a wooded area, the solar panels may not be for you. If you're in a rural area with a lot of woods, a lot of trees, If there are any tall buildings next to you, you need to decide if you are getting enough sun so that your energy can be reproduced, so much so that you will get a benefit from having your solar panels. And then also I mentioned for these subdivisions. So when you're in a subdivision, 9 times out of 10, you have an HOA. You need to check with your HOA before deciding to get a solar panel system, because there may be some restrictions for HOAs in if they allow solar panels. If you're in South Carolina, for example, there are some areas in Mount Pleasant that do not allow for you to have a solar panel on your roof per the HOA. And you do not want to get into a situation where you have then paid for your solar panels only for you not to be able to use them because you have signed your HOA guidance that you cannot have solar panels. So please double check and triple check prior to getting solar panels if you are allowed to have them in your subdivision. And then you should also ask yourself, once again, doing that cost balance analysis, will this actually save you any money on your electricity bill? Because if you're using minimal electricity, you may not need to get a solar panel, because in order for you to see that benefit, you will need to be using the amount of electricity required to then balance or offset the cost that you have to pay and the cost that will be derived from using your solar panel energy. So make sure you keep that in mind when you're deciding if a solar panel system is right for you. Just triple check your electricity bill, see how much you've used, look at it for the past year to determine if a solar panel is required for you. If you're in a one-person home that does not use much energy, you may not need a solar panel. It may not drastically affect your utility bill or your electricity bill, so please keep that in mind. So some advice I have to give you if you are seeking solar panels, if you want to discuss solar panels with a salesman, always ask for a paper contract. Like I mentioned, a lot of salesmen or the vendors for these solar panels will come to you with an electronic device, whether it be an iPad, a laptop, computer, anything of that nature. You need to ask for a paper contract, because looking at the electronic device, you may miss some sections, they may not show you some sections, or they may only give you select portions where it's just asking for your signature to populate onto that device. However, you don't want it to be a situation where you have signed something without reading the full document. So asking for that paper contract, you will have a record of what you signed and what you agreed upon, so that if there is any discrepancy, you will have documentation. And also, you don't need to feel pressure to sign the virtual or the electronic copy of your contract. If you want to sign a paper copy, ask for the paper copy, read it over, and then you can sign the paper copy. Because also, like I said before, don't feel pressure to jump into these contracts, because these contracts are high cost contracts. While they may give you some benefit, you need to make sure this is something that you would like to do. So you can take the time to discuss it with someone else, or take the time to read over it, because if they want that sale, they will then come back to you to discuss that contract with you. So make sure that you don't feel pressure to sign. You just need to be mindful, especially with your elderly family members, etc., people that are not comfortable with electronic devices, to let them know that they are not required to sign for a contract on the electronic device. They may try to pressure you. They may say, we're one shot, this is such a good deal. Just make sure that you're comfortable signing for this contract, because ultimately you will be responsible for the cost for the solar panels. And also research. We've given you websites that you should look to for different resources of reputable companies. There are a lot of salesmen that will just come knock on your door, or anybody that will come call you. Just make sure that you are researching prior to signing. It's imperative that you research before signing the contract, because as I mentioned, that 3-day window is usually what's in the contract. That doesn't give you much time to rescind your contract. And get your paper contract prior to signing, because if you're then trying to cancel your contract and you're waiting on the paper contract, that 3-day window may pass. So just be sure that you get your paper contract. If you receive it after you sign it, your 3 days should start when you receive your paper contract. So if you're going to cancel, just make sure you do it within that allotted time. And just remember that you do have the right to cancel, and they must inform you about your right to cancel at the time of your sale. So they may try to speed it past you just so you think that you don't have the right to cancel. But the Federal Trade Commission, you are mandated to have the right to cancel. They're mandated to tell you about that right. So if you do decide to get solar panels, make sure that you are aware of your time frame for canceling. And if you choose to cancel, do so within that time frame. And then, like I mentioned, you need to seek advice from someone that you trust prior to signing that contract. If you know someone that has a solar panel and it's going well for them, make sure you sit down and talk with them about their contract, their provider for their solar panel, their installer, and do that before you sign your contract. You can do all the research you need to do. You just need to do it prior to signing your contract because you do not want to enter into something that you cannot get out of. So just be mindful, talk to whoever you need to talk to. You can research it on your websites for the reputable companies for your solar panels. Just please do your research. And also speak to your utility companies. Make sure that your utility company is going to work with that solar panel company, and also they can better inform you of the incentives or the benefits to having your solar panels on your utility bill. So talk with the utility company, see what they recommend, see if they recommend solar panels for you based upon the usage that you have in your home. Like I mentioned, you need to look at the usage of energy that you have in your home to determine if solar panels are for you. So talk with your utility company, look at your previous bills, and just keep a track of it for a period of time to make sure that the solar panel is right for you. Because while there are good benefits, those benefits do not apply to everyone because everyone doesn't use the same amount of energy. So please keep that in mind when you're looking at solar panels and deciding if it's right for you. So now we just have a list of helpful websites. These websites will give you resources, different articles, and different persons or companies that sell solar panels. They have reputable companies. And then also we do have two websites that are giving you solar panel scams, because as I mentioned, there are scams out there in this new age of technology. Everyone has access to your information. If you're looking for a new home, they may ramp up their amount of times of contacting you because they know that you're looking for a new home, or if you refinance, they may just start calling you with those scam numbers or potential scam numbers or just random numbers calling you. You need to be mindful of scams. You need to be mindful of the information that you provide to others, and you also need to be mindful of the financial information that you give out. So check on these websites that give you further information of solar panels. Today was just a quick, brief discussion of a guide to solar panels, the 101. As Susie mentioned, we will be having a part 2. So if you have any questions, please put them in the question box. And if we can't answer them today, we will have an answer for you on part 2. So now we have opened up the floor for questions, and Susie can do the last 2 poll questions for me.
Absolutely. Okay. Will solar panels give an immediate discount to your utility bills? And this is going to show how much you were paying attention to what Cheryl was saying. Go ahead and just say yes or no. Okay, 100% said no. Good answer.
Good answer, guys. And can we have question number 4?
Can I return my solar panels? Yes or no? Let's see how much you learned on that. Okay. And the results on that were 50-50. Yes, I can return my solar panels. No, I cannot. And that is a little bit tricky, I guess.
Yes, that was a little tricky question because while you can return solar panels, it's not a simple situation of just taking them off and sending them back. Like I said, you need to look to your contract to determine what their process is for returning them, and also be mindful that there could be fees for you returning your solar panels. So yes, there are times in which you can return them. However, the process isn't as easy as it may seem. So do we have any questions in the question box that have not been addressed?
No, we do not have any further questions.
Well, thank you guys for joining me today. Now we're going to give you some information in reaching South Carolina Legal Services. Susie, did you want to do this slide or do you want me to do it?
Yeah, I'll take over from here. Thanks so much. I do want to thank you, Cheryl Wright, for an excellent presentation. And that's Cheryl Wright of our Charleston office. She's giving you a quick guide to solar panels and the contracts that govern them, and a whole lot of great information contained in this presentation. So thank you so much. And thanks to everyone who joined us today. We truly appreciate your interest in the subject matter and other subject matters that we have on other episodes in our Level Up Law series. Remember to join us for Level Up Law every Tuesday at noon, where we educate the public on some of the most common legal issues that we see here at South Carolina Legal Services. Now, remember, all of these free webcasts can be found on our YouTube channel under the Level Up Law playlist, and Cheryl's presentation today will be posted later this week. When you look at this on our YouTube channel, if you found it helpful, please do like the broadcast and share it to others. That helps us to get more people access to the information that might not know about this series. And if you subscribe to our YouTube channel and sign up for alerts, you'll get a notification each time that we post a new episode. And of course, you'll be alerted to part 2 of this series on solar panels, which promises to be just as interesting, with Cheryl talking about scams and fraud involved in the solar panel industry. All right, one last thing. If you have an issue and you need legal assistance and can't afford a lawyer, you may be eligible for our free legal representation. You can apply for help here at South Carolina Legal Services. On the screen is our toll-free number. Our intake office is open 9 to 6 Monday through Thursday, and the great staff there at the intake office are standing by during those hours. But also, you can apply online at the web address that is shown on the screen, lawhelp.org/sc/online-intake. And we actually do have a Level Up Law episode on that YouTube playlist that I just mentioned, that walks you through some tips on how to do an online application and make it work the best. Keep in mind that an easy way to see what's coming up each week on Level Up Law is to check our South Carolina Legal Services Facebook page, or you can follow us on Twitter and Instagram, where we post information about upcoming episodes. And next week, we'll be talking about education law, IEPs and 504s. What is the difference in these two, and why might you need one, or why might your child need one? So that's it for today. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in to Level Up Law. We look forward to having you back with us next week. And that concludes today's webinar. Cheryl, thank you again.
Thank you for having me, Susie.